Nick, first of all, stunning reporting. Congratulations. For you, what is your biggest takeaway in all of this reporting? What should we be focused on?
This story, a team effort by 5 reporters for months and months, is the story of a company that built a machine and didn't quite understand, couldn't control, and tried to hide the problems with because it was making them so much money. I actually agree with Sheryl Sandberg and what she said there. It is very hard for a private company to insert itself, take the place of the public square, and then try to have rules around that in a profit-making enterprise.
But nobody said it was easy, but that's their job.
That is what they have done, and that is the crux of the problem. The same thing that makes Facebook so profitable and makes it so much money, the fact that they know everything about me and you and what we like, what we respond to, what we share, is precisely what makes it an effective machine, probably the best ever invented for spreading propaganda and hate and disinformation. That is the paradox they have right now.
Amazing. I remember the last interview I saw with Sheryl Sandberg. She was saying it's really just there for people to reconnect with their friends from high school. Scott?
I don't know if you remember this.
I do. I know
May
exactly.
18th, 2012, you and I were at a desk similar to this for the Facebook IPO.
I do.
And there was a glitch, and you and I sat there on live TV for 2.5 hours trying to figure out what additional we could say about Facebook.
We did.
I was thinking since then. So Winston Churchill described the RAF as never have so many owed so much to so few. And the question I would ask for you, because you've been following this, we've all been following Facebook for the last 6 years, we're obsessed with it, is have any two individuals made more money while doing more damage to the United States?
Then Sheryl and Mark?
Look, contaminated our elections. Our teens are depressed. Teen suicide is skyrocketing. And the playbook is the same here, and you articulated it brilliantly in your piece. It's faux concern, right? This is a big issue. Mark and I are concerned. And then there's delay and obfuscation. And we seem to eat it up. And I think the guilty party here is us. We won't hold this company accountable. Sheryl Sandberg is a protected class on top of a protected class.
That's because we're addicted to eating junk food. You're saying it's, I mean, like, that's what we've turned into. But the issue here, Scott, isn't just the problem got so big. Mark never knew the company would get this large, and golly gee, now we've got this huge issue. They're hiring an outside PR company. They're linking George Soros. They're just as guilty as those who create the propaganda.
Well, look, and part two of the story is just that. First, they found a problem, and then realized in 2016 that it was bigger and bigger than they thought. But they didn't tell anyone outside the company. They brushed off their concerns. They told congressional investigators, it's not a big deal, you're overstating it. They finally finally told their board in the fall of 2017, they said, hey, here's some information. We found some bad stuff on the election. This is after the election. This is almost a year after the election. And then, only then, did they begin to tell the public. But then it got worse. Yeah. They told the public a little bit. And then they had to keep revising it and revising it. And then at the same time, they launched what became a year-long PR and lobbying campaign to contain the damage and deflect their critics and get out from under the problem.
A PR campaign is not solving the problem. Creating a war room and bringing someone on television with me to talk about what that war room looks like is garbage. I want to share a quote from Facebook today. We've acknowledged publicly on many occasions, including before Congress, that we were too slow to spot Russian interference on Facebook, as well as other misuse. But in the 2 years since the 2016 presidential election, we've invested heavily in more people and better technology to improve safety and security on our services. While we still have a long way to go, we're proud of the progress we have made in fighting misinformation, removing banned content, and preventing actors from manipulating our platform. So this is a complete, again, PR statement. NBC asked Facebook a whole bunch of questions last night. They ignored all of our questions and gave us this noise. Who's going to buy this noise and say, yep, I accept this?
Yeah, this is a company that has warmly embraced the margins, the celebrity, and the influence of a media company, but refuses to take the responsibility of a media company.
And we don't make them take the responsibility.
But yeah, that's exactly right. We've bought into this notion that it would be impossible for Facebook to screen their content. The New York Times can look any advertiser or reader in the eyes and say, we guarantee we will not be weaponized by bad actors or foreign influence. And you managed to do it with $200 million a year in free cash flow. Facebook can't look people in the eyes and make the same guarantee with $20 billion a year in free cash flow. We're not talking about the realm of the possible here. We're talking about the realm of the profitable. And when you talk to Facebook about doing anything that dents their profits, they create a narrative that it would be impossible. You shut this network down for 5 days, and the most brilliant people in the world are going to figure this out. But instead, we buy into this lie that they're hitting 1,000 home runs a day. So if a few people get killed in the stands, hey, we can't stop the game because we're literally hitting thousands of home runs. Anything that gets in the way of this supernova business model, other people creating your content, matching it with incredible targeting, creating billions and billions in shareholder value for anything that gets in the way of that is quote unquote impossible, and the narrative immediately moves to delay and obfuscation.
Let's talk politics, because the question keeps going back to why aren't they regulated? Why aren't they punished? If spreading misinformation meant for every single share they were getting a big fat fine or losing their license to operate, they'd figure it out quickly. When we read things like Chuck Schumer's daughter works there, he's telling Mark Sanford to back off. Things like that, Mark Warner, things like that are exactly why Americans across the country, voters, say there's no good guys in politics.
Actually, it's worse than that. The U.S. has no general privacy law whatsoever. It does not exist here. There are laws about your...
But we also don't have any will for it. Look what our political leaders are doing, saying back off, my daughter works there.
This is why the U.S. is the world capital of commercial
Yes, he didn't say
surveillance.
back off, my daughter works there. He said back off. Separately, his daughter works there.
And so there's no basic protection for anybody except what the companies choose to give us. So our model in this country is Facebook says, hey, here are our rules, or Google or Twitter. These are our rules. This is your privacy. Take it or leave it. That's what we have in this country. It's not what they have in Europe. And now we see a chorus of people saying, you know what, maybe it's time that we have some kind of basic protection in place for consumers. And it sounds like it's not connected to kind of bots and misinformation, but it really is. Because as we said, the same thing that makes them so profitable and so good at spreading the bad stuff is their ability to take all the information they can find about you and monetize it.
Then let's talk about sort of the genius of how Facebook did this. We're very quickly to call organizations like Fox News public enemy #1 when guys like Sean Hannity spread misinformation, or we say the same thing about Donald Trump. We don't say that about Facebook. When it's Facebook, when you look at it, the Facebook vehicle is the one to mega charge and amplify all of this on both sides of the extremes.
It's a huge double standard. We no longer, I would argue.
Why? Because they use the word community often?
Well, we don't worship at the altar of character and kindness. We worship at the altar of innovators and billionaires. They're just a protected class right now.
Yes.
And not only is it about new legislation, it would just be, or regulation, it would just be enforcing existing regulation. And there's a Content Decency Act, which basically was authored by Senator Wyden, that exonerates or alleviates this legislation or scrutiny from these nascent technology companies. So if you talked about Fox, if Fox had been weaponized by the GRU, the intelligence arm of the Russian government, I don't believe, and it ended up that these ads were paid for in rubles, that they had put in place absolutely no safeguards whatsoever.
Yes, and remember, rubles. There were ads being paid for in rubles on Facebook.
Potentially contaminated our elections. I believe Rupert Murdoch would not travel to the U.S. for fear he'd be arrested on deplaning. There is a double standard here. Can you imagine what would happen to you, Stephanie, if it ended up the ads in between our breaks, we found out it had been paid for by a foreign government trying to influence our elections?
When I worked in banking, if someone from another country, from a foreign entity, picked up the phone and said, yep, here's a deal I want to do, and I'm going to pay you in a foreign currency, there are know your client rules and regulations that Facebook has been allowed to skirt because they've been celebritized. Right? Think about the last administration. What group of CEOs were welcome and adored by the Obama administration?
And what is better sheep's clothing on a wolf than an inspiring woman who's written eloquently about personal loss and the important debate around gender equality in the workplace? She's been the best heat shield in the history of business. This is... I mean, she's an inspiring person, but as a progressive, when you wrap yourself in a progressive blanket, we're largely stereotyped as nice but weak. It's the perfect illusionist cover.
Nick, last point. This is your piece. I mean, it wasn't that many years ago. People said Sheryl Sandberg could one day be president.
It's probably not going to happen now, I think. But, you know, I can't prognosticate. I will say, I do think we are entering an Upton Sinclair moment for the new economy and for big tech. These companies have grown extremely fast, extremely powerful, in an extremely short amount of time. And we are only now just catching up as reporters, as policymakers and regulators to what goes on inside the sausage factory. And it's not pretty. And this is an important moment for that industry, I think.
I guess my issue with all of this is, as we've been having this conversation for months, years, they didn't realize how big things were. They didn't realize how big and out of control things would get. And now they're faced with a problem, and that's the difference. They knew what the problems were. They actively hid them and were lying to us.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.